Hey guys, welcome to episode number 137. Today is actually Tuesday. Update Monday is a day late, but I've been busy as the wedding gets closer. My free time is disappearing, but I wanted to give you guys an update because as you can see, I have all four of my 40-gallon aquariums now, and it's kind of impressive to see wall-to-wall aquariums here. It's very exciting, and I just wanted to show you guys that I am progressing here with this fish room build. It's going to be a slow and steady build, I feel like, but I do have the 40-gallon aquariums in. The stands and the aquariums aren't in their final position yet because I do need to drill the tanks and install the overflows and all of the plumbing before I get them in their final resting location. So that will be upcoming. But what I've also done is I've ordered my hole saws, my diamond hole saws, and my bulkheads for these aquariums because in the next few days I will be drilling these aquariums, and I think I'm probably going to be drilling one hole per tank, and I'll either do it in the top left or the top right corner. I haven't quite decided yet, but what I have decided on is the size of those holes. So they're going to be 1 3/4 inches, that's the hole diameter, and that's going to fit a 1-inch bulkhead. So those are on the way. I've got 5 of them, 1 for each tank. And then I still have to get a 20-gallon tall tank for the sump tank, and I'm also going to install one in that as well. And I feel like that should put me in a pretty good place for the amount of water that I'm planning on moving. I'll get into that a little bit later. But when it comes to drilling aquariums, this is a fairly large hole that I'm going to be drilling. And this is really thick glass. I think it's a 1/4 inch thick, which is a good thing. The thicker the glass, the less likely it is to chip and crack. Actually, it's really hard to stop it from chipping, but I'll do my best. But since it is such a large diameter hole, I do want to be really careful about where I do drill it. Some people drill their holes right up at the top of that black rim at the top of the tank, but I've done a little bit of reading, and I found that you want to typically drill no closer than 1.5 times the diameter of the hole that you're deciding to drill. So because I'm drilling a 1.75 inch hole, I'm going to round it and just go to 3 inches. So I don't want to be within 3 inches of that side, and I don't want to be within 3 inches of the top of the glass either. So, I'll probably measure out 3 inches from the side and 3 inches from the top, and that'll be the center of where my hole is going to be placed. So that leaves me kind of with an interesting problem here because what I want to do is an external Durzo standpipe, and if you've heard of a Durzo standpipe, you know that they're typically used in saltwater aquariums where you have the overflow box built into the tank, and usually it's an internal overflow, and the bottom of the tank is drilled when you get it. Obviously these are not drilled at all. They have no overflows in them, and if I'm drilling my hole 3 inches down, I really don't want my tank to be only 3/4 of the way full. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my downward facing elbow as the entry point for that Durzo standpipe. But that's not going to allow the water to come up much past where I drill that hole. So what I'm also thinking about doing is adding a small overflow box and attaching that like right here and going most of the way up to the top. What that will allow me to do is raise the water level in the tank, and then once it hits that overflow box, it will overflow into a smaller chamber, and that's where that Durzo elbow will be, and that's how the water will eventually overflow out of the tank. So that's my plan for the moment. I'm not exactly sure on the details or the dimensions of those overflow boxes, but I do know they're really expensive online, so I might end up just building them myself. So look forward to that. That will probably be in the next couple weeks. So my pipe dimensions for my plumbing, how did I arrive at that? I think that the pump that I want to use down in the 20-gallon tall is probably going to be running about 1,500 gallons per hour approximately, and that's going to be split evenly between these 4 tanks. So I needed to make sure that the PVC pipe diameter that I use for my overflows is going to be able to handle, 1/4 of that load at a gravity feed rate. It's not going to be pressurized because it's overflowing, so it needs to be the gravity rate for those pipes. And I found that a 1-inch pipe is going to handle about 960 gallons per hour at a gravity feed rate, and that's going to be plenty. That's going to almost be double what I need from this system. So it gives me a lot of room to play, and it means that my overflows will have no problem keeping up with the water that's being pumped into them, and that's really important because if your head height gets too much above your overflow, you're at a serious risk for a tank overflowing and spilling onto the floor, especially if your overflow box gets clogged up or something happens. You want to be able to say that you safely have a large enough overflow so that won't happen. So that's where I kind of got to my 1-inch overflow spot. So that's what I'm planning on using, is a 1-inch PVC pipe for my overflow. Now the manifolds that I'm going to be using, I mentioned that there's going to be one down here, and that's the waste manifold that's going to take all of the overflow from these 4 tanks and dump it into the sump tank. That's going to be a 2-inch diameter PVC pipe, and the return line, there's going to be a return manifold up here, which I also mentioned earlier. That I have decided is also going to be a 2-inch PVC pipe, and the difference is amazing. A 2-inch PVC pipe has a gravity feed rate of around 3,300 gallons per hour, which is more than enough for the pump that I'm using. Again, it's over double what I actually need. So again, that gives me enough room to play, and it just kind of puts my mind to ease to know that those pipes won't be completely full of water, that there's plenty of extra space there in case things go wrong. So it's always good to over-engineer as opposed to under-engineer, especially when it comes to water and hardwood floors. So looking forward to getting all of those supplies. I won't start building out any of the plumbing until I have my tanks drilled and my bulkheads installed, and then I'm actually going to spray paint the backgrounds to these aquariums. I have decided on black, so I will spray paint the backgrounds black. I've also had some requests to spray paint the bottoms of the tanks, and I was actually thinking of doing that anyways. So what I'm going to do is use those special spray paints that have the stone look. So if you go to like a craft store, they have the stone colored paints that kind of have a bunch of different flecks of different colors. So I found one of those that I like, so I'll be painting the bottoms a stone color. Hopefully that will mask some of the debris that might collect on the bottom of the tank, and give it kind of a sandy bottom look without actually having to deal with substrate inside the tank. So all of that will be going on, and then after that I'll get all of my plumbing. And you know, probably the most important part of all of this plumbing is the emergency overflow, which will actually be in constant use in the 20-gallon tall sump tank, because I do plan on running a drip line into this system. You know, after evaporation, I will still be dripping water into these tanks at a constant rate, and so that wastewater has to go somewhere. And if all of these tanks are overflowing into this sump tank, that's where the extra water is going to accumulate. So I mentioned that I'm going to be using a 1-inch overflow for the sump tank as well. And I calculated that based on a couple different things. I believe the website is called Reef Central. They have a few different calculators on their website, which are pretty handy. And what I did was I plugged in my my length and my width here of this aquarium, the 40-gallon breeder, and I think it's like a head height calculator for a sump tank. So how large your sump tank has to be based on the amount of water that's always going to be standing above your overflow. And this is in case of a power outage. So if all of these tanks were up and running and all of a sudden the power went out, there would be an inch or two of water potentially in each one of these tanks that would continue to exit the overflow and continue to enter the sump tank, and all of that water isn't being pumped back into the tanks anymore. All of that water is just collecting in the sump tank, so that needs to go out an emergency overflow, and that's the same overflow that's going to be used for that constant drip into the tank. So I did the calculation on that, and I found that the 1-inch PVC pipe should be plenty enough to handle that overflow. I mean, I think it'll only be probably around 15 gallons of water that would overflow within a minute or two into this sump tank. So the 1-inch bulkhead should be able to handle that volume of water in case something like that happens. And I'll know for sure once I have it all set up, because the first thing I'm going to do when I have it all set up is cut the power so I can test and see exactly what happens. And if it ends up overflowing, which I don't think it will because I've done the math, if it ends up overflowing, I might just add a second bulkhead, and then that will double the amount of water that can escape from that emergency overflow. So anyways guys, that's the progress that I have so far here. I will be working on drilling the tanks and spray painting the tanks here this week, and then I will start to clean up the stuff that's below them and prepare them to kind of sit in their final spaces, and then I will begin to fill them. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.